Sea Thunder name comes from Montana, my father's father. And Teallaway comes from a place called Rock Creek, upriver, probably about 20 miles upriver of the John Day Dam. And that's a place where originally there were 16 different tribes that resided on the shores of the Columbia River. And there were multiple languages, but there was a language called the Wasclick jargon, and that was a trade language that they used, that even Lewis and Clark was familiar with. And so anyways, as far as fishing goes, I'm brand new. I'm not like, you know, like a lot of our elders out here that have been on this river, you know, since they were little. I learned a lot just in the last 6 years. And I totally fell in love with this place. You know, I was in a really hard place and struggling a lot. You know, a lot of our people are struggling and hurting with what we call generational trauma. You know, it's something that was carried on from, you know, being wiped out. You know, and being defeated and being, you know, whatever kind of hurt that our ancestors carried and whatever they had witnessed. You know, that was sort of passed on to their children and their children all the way down to me, you know. So I had a hard time, you know, I had a really hard time until I made it to the river. My uncle had brought me out here and he started teaching me. He started teaching me on the scaffolds. The scaffolds are year-round for tribal members. We're allowed to have 3 scaffolds in our name. We're allowed to have our own spot on the river, and we go to our tribe and they have like a whole list of maps of where people have designated spots, and there's regulations on, the thing about scaffolds is it's year round. We can catch any fish, and except for sturgeon. Sturgeon are ones that we gotta always throw back unless they're in season. Like I think December is our time to fish sturgeon. But other than that, we're allowed to catch you know, any fish we want. But the fish count is getting so low and it's getting so bad, the pollution, between the pollution, the dams, and overfishing, and not just from tribal members, but from out there on the, right on the mouth of the Columbia, and then further out in international waters, they're being wiped out by foreign fishing companies are coming through and freighters and 5-mile-long nets, and they totally wiped out our season this year. So this year, usually we have scaffolds that are year-round, but they actually came and told us in the summertime it was so bad. They said, hey, you know what? You guys got to pull all your hoops out of the scaffolds. So the scaffolds they hang over the river probably about anywhere from 5 feet overhanging the bank over the water to you know, 30, 40, 50 feet. I've seen people like put logs across and winch them up, and then, you know, make like platforms, and so basically every scaffold gets 2 hoops on it, and they're 27-foot perimeter hoops, and usually they're made out of like rebar, but some people use like wire, wire cable or steel cable, but the limit is 27 feet for the perimeter of the hoop. And we just put like a big bag on it, you know, like a net. It's like a big, huge dip net, pretty much. And then we run a long pole that goes all the way out. People call it a stinger, or I think I just know it as a stinger. And then at the tip, there's a pulley. And then we tie the hoop up to that pulley on the outside, and then we tie another rope on the inside, and we pull that pulley, and then we pull the hoop all the way out. And then there are some people that just hang out the hoop and drop it in the water and then leave, you know, and come back and check it. But some of the more successful fishermen, they'll sit on it and they'll sit on it all night, like, and they'll pull it all the way out and drop it all the way in the water, and then they'll just hold the ropes like that. And then you'll feel the fish hit, they'll boom, and then you just gotta pull it up. And sometimes, you know, they make the scaffolds hanging off the cliffs, you gotta climb down ladders, there's rapids underneath, and it's all crazy. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Klickitat up here. When you're heading up on the Washington side, there's a Klickitat river, and you go up there, and there's all kinds of cliffs, and like they got platforms way down in there, and it's crazy. And I've over in the Dalles, right below the Dalles Dam, I have family that fishes over there, and they have cliffs that you gotta like scale to get down, you know, just to fish. And if you fall in that water, there's 3 undertows, and so like, you know, and I slipped off of it one time, and I like rolled all the way down, and I just hit the edge of the scaffold, and I was hanging. I landed up right on my ribs and broke them, and I was hanging, and I was like, the water was just rushing through there, and I was like, oh man. And I climbed up and got out of there. I was like, oh man, I don't think I can climb down here no more, man. Like, it was too scary. But that, as far as scaffold fishing, that's how it goes. We're allowed to have 2 hooks per scaffold. Every tribal member is supposed to have a limit of 3, as far as I know. But I think there are some individuals that inherit scaffolds, and they have more than 3. And then gill net fishing is right here from the Bridge of Gods all the way up to I'm not sure how far up really, all the way till McNeary. Okay, yeah, and then right below, so everything below the Bridge of the Gods is it's all scaffolds. So there's no gill nets over there, and gill nets are really limited. And I've heard stories of people saying, oh, they're fishing out all the fish and they're taking everything. And gill nets are really, really regulated. They're nothing like how the scaffolds are. Scaffolds are year round. That's just, you know, 20 feet off the shore, and then the fish are out there in the deep water, and you know, we just get lucky and pull up, you know, the ones that are coming out at nighttime. They'll come up to the shore, and that's why the scaffold fishermen are right out there. And the thing is, you know, the Northwest tribes combined yearly put in millions and millions of dollars a year, you know, just so that we can, you know, catch some fish and practice what we've been doing for, just like how she said in her prayer, take care of the land that we've been taking care of for, you know, thousands of years. And that's what we're still doing. A lot of the funds and a lot of the funds that come from this are from some tribes that have casinos. Some tribes get grants, and they put millions into the fisheries, you know. And the fishermen, us fishermen, we don't get millions back, you know. we provide for our families, you know. We provide sustenance when the season's closed, and you know, and we can take care of ourselves in a good way like that, you know. Because out on the reservation, there's not a whole lot of jobs. There's not. I think in Warm Springs it's like a 90% unemployment rate, because the economy is just, and all of the income, 60% of the next town's income comes from Warm Springs. So it's sort of all the money just leaves the res, you know. But when we come out here to the river, you know, and depending on your ability, on your ability to assert yourself and your ability to, you know, to want it, you know, you can do okay for yourself out here. You know, and it's just something about being out on that water, and it's not just with us indigenous people. I hear this story from everybody. Most fishermen that I cross paths with, native and non-native, they'll tell you there's something about being out on the water that changes you. It's calming. It's even healing. Like I've seen men come out, you know, with a broken back in 3 places, and, you know, healing up and aching everywhere. They come out into the water and they're just like, whoa, man, I feel fine, man. Let's go catch some fish. You know, I don't know if it's fish fever or what, but I'm pretty sure though the water is, you know, it has healing properties, you know, and it's a gift. You know, this whole earth is a gift to us. We were given dominion over these lands, you know, and the indigenous people understand that. We know that. You know, we're given dominion over this place, and we're supposed to take care of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of that. As far as gill nets go, there's regulations on sizes. We're not supposed to have anything smaller than 8 inches. You know, for the gill nets, and we're allowed to have everybody has their own designated spots where they fish that they inherit, just like the scaffolds, how it's in their name and their tribe, you know. Then and there's 4 tribes. They're called the 4 Treaty Tribes, and that's the Nez Perce, who you guys all should know, Chief Joseph. That's his band. And then there's Warm Springs, which is actually a confederacy of 3 different tribes. There's Warm Springs, Wasco, and Paiute. When I mentioned earlier the Wasco jargon, trade language that was really common here at one point. And then there's Yakima, and then they're up north. And then there's Walla Walla, or Umatilla, and that's over here in Pendleton, a reservation called Mission. And those are the 4 treaty tribes that have rights to fish up and down the Columbia River. But our limit is from the Bonneville Dam on up. We're not allowed to fish anywhere in that direction. I think from the Bonneville to Beacon Rock, there's an open area where we can hook and line, and I think there's a couple scaffolds down there, but other than that, it's called Zone 6 from the Bonneville all the way up to the McNairy Dam. That's what we call Zone 6, and that's our designated fishing area. And other than that, it's a lot of hard work from pulling the fish out of the water, being up all night, you know, to taking care of the fish, either selling it. What I like to do is I take care of it. I went and got my food handler's card, and I went and got a crew, and I said, I want to do this from start to finish, because some of the fish buyers, I think they kind of get together and they make these prices that make it really, really hard for us fishermen, you know, to where we're struggling. And so I figured, you know what, I need to cut out the middleman. I got to cut the middleman out, and I need to do all this myself. It's a lot of work. You're up all night pulling the fish out, and then you got to clean all the fish, and then you got to get rid of all the guts and stuff, and then you got to fillet them, and then you got to chop them up into little pieces, and then you got to cure them over 8 hours, and then you got to rinse them off, and then you got to get all the best ingredients, you know, and then you got to smoke them for 8 hours, and you got to vacuum seal them, and then you got to keep them on ice. You gotta keep buying ice and buying ice. Buying ice is non-stop. As soon as those fish come out, like, you gotta keep them cold all the way. You gotta take care of your fish, because taking care of your fish is taking care of the people that consume it. It's like, as long as you're taking care of your fish, you're taking care of the people, you know, in a good way. And it's all about, you know, being consistent, and so that way you can give something good, you know. And I travel all over up north to the coastal tribes. My mom is coastal. On my mom's side, I'm S'Klallam, Puyallup, and Sauk-Suato. And I travel up there, and I bring my Columbia River fish up there, and they just blow their minds. They're like, "Whoa, what is this?" And I'm like, "It's not Puget Sound. It's from the Columbia River down there." And they're like, better than Copper River. Elders have told me that up there. But I've learned some tricks up there for smoking fish and stuff, and I've been sort of pulling things together and making things happen. Like I said, people who assert themselves, you know, can do okay, and people who take care of their fish and, you know, have a good product to give, you know, from this river that provides for us all. And I guess real quick, I have a story that I heard about the salmon and the deer and the elk. It's part of the creation story, and it's just something that I was told. I don't know if it's like, you know, officially in the books or whatever, but when I first started fishing around here, I just had a lot of questions. You know, like, okay, I love this river, it makes me feel good, I'm changing my life and this and that. You know, but I want to know more about it. You know, what's the stories and about the fish and about. So the part of the creation story that I heard was that a long time ago, during when man was created, and we had to be fed, right? So the Creator came down and he gathered all the animals and he said, "Okay, these are my people. This is man." You know, and he comes from the earth, comes from the ground, and he said, who is gonna feed them? Who's gonna sacrifice themselves, you know, to feed the people and to keep them alive, you know, and to make them prosperous? And then it was the salmon and the deer and the elk, they stepped forward and they volunteered themselves and every generation after them to take care of the people, to make sure that they were fed, and they volunteered and sacrificed themselves in every generation after to take care of us. And that's pretty much the gist of it, I suppose. And sorry for rolling up on you guys down there. I want to buy some fish, you know.